Oh hi, didn't see you there. I'm just warming up my hands at this artificial fireplace. Boy do I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday out of the 365 days of the year. It just so happens to be Christmas Eve. While it is nice to open presents on Christmas morning, bake cookies, and decorate, we all have to realize what makes this holiday so special. It all started between 6 and 4 BC. A new king was soon to be born. Mary was a teenager when she heard the news of Angel Gabriel saying, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. And now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus." And then, Jesus was born. Sooner or later, people will start eventually celebrating that day as of a celebration or a huge birthday party for Jesus. Everyone and their cousin loves Christmas. Take a look at this footage of my cousin really loving Christmas. Since it is Christmas, I do want to take it back to the past with the 90s. I wanted to talk about two different consoles that you probably would have been seeing as the most popular and in war. That's right, we're talking about the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Around the early 90s, every kid wanted a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis for Christmas.
Mario is missing!
Well, now you found him.
Oh crap, do I feel bad that this kid got Mario is Missing for his Christmas gift. Do you know how horrible that game was? But that didn't stop the parents from opposing to getting their kid a Super Nintendo.
Does this really have to cost this much? Where should the anger be directed? Not at the parents, but at the manufacturer.
So it has come to this. Therapy sessions for families whom you could call Nintendependent.
Another thing that sucks really bad is the fact that the Sega Genesis was in the same problem too. Even though that was a completely different system and a completely different company with completely different games. The SNES and Sega Genesis were all still faced with bad reviews around at the time. I mean, now they have good reviews because they have good games. Take a look at these games and take a look at the ones that came out on the systems before them. It makes sense as to why they wanted those systems the most. The Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis promised better pictures, better sound, better processing. Meanwhile, everyone thought it was just the exact same thing, just for that one game. There was literally parents that thought that putting those same cartridges on the old system could probably work, but they're just trying to make you to buy more of their systems, which makes no sense. Because why would they make a better system and those same cartridges you could play them on your old school Nintendo? That's like saying if Nintendo Switch games could work on a Nintendo 3DS. They don't have backwards compatibility, people. Backwards compatibility was not a thing back then. To put it all into perspective, many families did understand the improvements from the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis opposed to their 8-bit counterparts, the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Master System. And eventually many families, they did get a Super Nintendo, many families did get a Sega Genesis. A lot of kids are facing the same thing. Whether kids do want a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or a Nintendo Switch, there's many consoles that released in the past that they're still supporting today. Wii U. Most parents think that other systems are still being supported to this day. While the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One is still being supported to this day, many Nintendo families can't really use the Wii U. The Nintendo Switch's eShop is the only real reason why you should get a Nintendo Switch this year. Like I said, Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis back in the 90s, a lot of parents had beef with it. They said that they're really just trying to scam you. Really, nowadays, they're huge improvements. You could take a look at the 3DS's screen and the Nintendo Switch. Tell me what's better, a hybrid console or a handheld console? You tell me. What do I want this year? A Nintendo Switch. Even though I really did bring down the Nintendo Switch last video, there really is a bunch of really good games on there, and there's a lot of third-party support as opposed to the Nintendo 3DS. There are a bunch of third-party games, but a lot of it is just shovelware. The Nintendo Wii U is the exact same thing. The Switch doesn't have that much of shovelware. If anything, it has no shovelware. There's a lot of games on there like Shantae's Quest and many other games that are actually worth buying. So with all that, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you guys in the next video.